Listen, I think we can all agree climate change is not happening, okay? It's not real, folks. The places in America that are on fire regularly in the rainy season are only on fire because God is punishing them for believing climate change is real and sometimes also being gay. And we all know there's nothing more gay than climate change. The rainbow flag is the colors of the fires we're going to see sweep across the country. I can't even believe we're still talking about man-made climate change, okay? Everyone knows it's not real except for the 99.9% of peer-reviewed scientific papers that say climate change is caused by humans. Sure, that sounds bad, but how many studies could that actually be, okay? 10, 12? Oh, they say. It's according to a survey of 88,125 climate-related studies. A mere 88,000. But what about all those thousands of climate studies that no self-respecting scientist would review? The non-peer-reviewed studies. Those studies overwhelmingly say that climate change is, in fact, caused by our flat Earth teetering on the giant turtle on which the planet rests. And that turtle is getting tired, okay, because we eat too many bacon fried cheeseburgers. Please, folks, lose the love handles and the love back sacks, okay? Have some consideration for the turtle. Okay, fine. Maybe human-caused climate change is happening, but I'm only going to learn about it from the true masters of the world, the rich and the powerful. They are the only ones we should listen to. Here's one of our masters and the 11th richest person in the world, Bill Gates.
The top 1% emit more than the bottom 50% worldwide. Billionaires are the problem.
Bill Gates is not a climate hero. His actions mean more than his empty words.
How dare those young people interrupt that nice man in the loose knit, inoffensive light blue sweater? Think of how much Bill Gates has done for you. He stole the Windows operating system so you can use your computer. He bought up so much of the World Health Organization that he makes the calls there so that you can something about health. He bought up more farmland in America than any other single human being so that you can be inspired by his devotion to buying things. Look at what I got, you know? And he started a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein had been found guilty of being a child sex offender so that you didn't have to. He was taking the bullet for all of us who don't want to befriend a sexual predator. You ingrates. Okay, fine. So maybe he's not a climate hero. Maybe his own personal greenhouse emissions are that of a small nation. But at least we have the Democrats leading the way on climate change boldly and bravely. Here's Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Congressman Jeffries, how can you lecture us on democracy when it is the lukewarm, centrist, uninspiring policies of the Democrats that have led us to Trump?
What? Lukewarm, uninspiring? But Biden and the Dems did so much about climate crisis. Biden said he was going to put in 500,000 electric vehicle chargers across the whole country, and he did it, okay? He passed that law. Here's from the Associated Press this past November after he left office. There are currently 214 operational chargers in 12 states that have been funded through the law. 214. Well, that's not nothing, okay? In fact, I looked it up. That's 0.04% of what he promised, which really ain't bad for a Democrat, honestly. You know, new motto, Democrats, we'll get you 0.04% of what we promised. And you could take that to the bank. Anyway, these mean protesters should let the nice Mr. Jeffries speak. He doesn't have anything to do with fossil fuels, okay? He's not a climate villain. He's not taking money from fossil fuel companies. Let the man speak.
Our planet is literally burning. Our democracy is crumbling. And you are still taking money from fossil fuel corporations.
Oh, I see. But fossil fuel companies aren't in his top contributors. His top contributors are, let's see, APEC and BlackRock. Oh, God. That's like being funded by Satan and runny diarrhea. And BlackRock is one of the worst climate villains on the planet, since they're the biggest shareholders in big oil, plastics, chemicals, deforestation, weapons contractors, and I think bed bugs. They invest heavily in bed bugs. It's awful. But what do you want from poor Hakeem, okay? To take money from moral sources? Who has the time? Fine, let's hear from another billionaire, because they are clearly our gurus, our leaders, our George Clooney's, if you will. Let's hear from climate leader, former Treasury Secretary, and former head of the National Economic Council under Obama, Larry Summers. And you children better not interrupt this man. You're going on timeout.
The billionaires are the problem. You pushed to lift the ban on oil exports, and now the U.S. is the world's largest oil producer.
I'm not going to engage in any further dialogue.
We need clean.
So he was one of the main voices behind the U.S. pumping more oil than ever at a time while our planet is heating up and shit's on fire and we're destroying our future? Well, it's still not nice to interrupt people, okay? You should let them speak when they're trying to convince us to let the planet die. Sociopathic, future-killing murderers are people too, okay? They should get to be heard in a polite and cordial manner. If we don't have that, what do we have? So therefore, I just want to say, no one else should interrupt or disrupt or some other rupt our so-called leaders when they speak in public. Do not disrupt their ability to get their work done, okay? Because without them getting their work done efficiently, we might have a future. And who wants that? Another Fast and Furious movie? What are we here for?